Hi, my name's Stefan Taylor, and today I'll be talking about the Sandy Hook shooting. So this video will be talking about the actual shooting that took place at the elementary school, the offender, and who the offender is, their age group, race, gender. Then I'll also be talking about the upbringing. So we'll be looking back to Adam Lanza and his upbringing with his family, with his mom and his dad specifically, and different things he was going through as he was growing up. So first, we're going to talk about the Sandy Hook shooting itself. So in 2012, December 14th, Adam Lanza had went to his old elementary school around 9 o'clock a.m. and he ended up killing 20 first graders and 6 staff members. And earlier that morning before going to the school, he had killed his mom. Adam Lanza was a 21-year-old Caucasian male that like I said before, he attended the school. When the cops were called during that time, he ended up killing himself. And once the officers got there and they found his body, they found an assault rifle that he had used and 2 handguns. And he used a handgun to kill himself. And then they later found another shotgun stored in his car. And so when this first was reported and everything was going down, everyone was curious, why would someone go to the extent of, or why would someone even do something like this, especially to the extent of killing first graders. These kids range from the age of 5 to 6 years of age, and why would someone go to a school and kill these innocent little kids that are just learning and excited to go on Christmas break? And so there was investigations and researchers, studies to try to understand why Adam did what he did and why he turned out the person who he turned out to become. So I'm going to talk about the description. So according to a case study by Steinkühler, they talk about the description of a shooter, like who the shooter is. So first off, the shooter is considered to be a rare species, quote unquote rare species compared to other criminal offenders that have come about, like robberies and murders and things like that. With mass murders, these school shooters, things like that, they're very rare. And most of these offenders of this crime have an age range from the ages of 13 to 21 years of age. Usually the gender is male and the race is Caucasian. Most of these offenders come from families that have guns within the family. They do a lot of going to the shooting range, they go hunting, so they're exposed to these guns. And a lot of these offenders will be found in suburban homes in America or rural areas within America. Often, a lot of these offenders also have defects, and these defects usually come from pregnancies and the difficulties their mothers have while they're pregnant. And usually these pregnancies lead to brain defects. So that's kind of the description of these shooters, and that's who they are, their age, and things like that. So next, we're gonna just jump and dive right into the upbringing. So Adam Lanza did have a mother and a father. The father, named Peter Lanza, was around to the age of 10 until they divorced and he left. But he still was around, and he would take his son shooting regularly. So that there shows that Adam was exposed to guns at a young, early age. After the whole incident went down, they had interviewed Peter Lanza, and he just talked about how he didn't love his son, he couldn't love his son, and that he used the term evil, quote unquote evil, that his own son was evil and you can't get any more evil as it gets. So seeing this kind of lack of affection from Adam's father could have been a huge part of Adam's upbringing, how this relationship with his father really hurt him and had a strong impact on him. And as he got older, he saw his son, but then he slowly started to distance himself from his son. And so he kept distancing, and it came to a point 2 years before the shooting that he stopped and did not talk to his son at all. And just like I said before, the father just did not love Adam, and he just couldn't. And when they asked, like, could you grieve for your son, he said no, like, I could really care less about him, that he got what he deserved. So next, I'll be talking about Nancy Lanza's mother. So Nancy Lanza was a very carefree gal. She was from New Hampshire, and she was all about the New Hampshire, like everything about New Hampshire, and that included guns. So she made sure she had guns in her life. And as throughout her life, she was known to have an illness, and a lot of her friends and her family knew about this illness, and that she suffered from an autoimmune and genetic disorder. But even after all this, like, complaining about this illness that she's going through, she made it her goal to take care of Adam. And quote unquote, she said that she had responsibilities, and that as a mother of a child with special needs, that she has to be there for her kid, for her son, Adam. So she was very, very attached to her son. She wanted to make sure that her son was good and is happy and just got what he needed. And so she definitely showed more love. But as you see when I talk about Adam Lanza and his relationship with his mother, that you start to see there was love and affection there, but there was a lot more of just the mom just controlling him and what he needed, what she felt was best for him, regardless of what experts have told her. So now we're going to talk about Adam Lanza himself. So growing up, Adam Lanza had a lot of evaluations from a psychologist, psychiatrists, doctors, and different people constantly evaluating him because of the difficulties he was experiencing growing up. Like I said, he was constantly observed, and at the time, before he was born, during the pregnancy and after, he experienced difficulties. That it was reported that Nancy did have a difficult pregnancy, and that she suffered, or she was had to deal with challenges from hypoglycemia and hypotension. And she actually had a C-section. The C-section showed that there was a lack of fetal movement. So these experiences eventually affected Adam in his upbringing, his mental state, and things like that. Even after 8 days after he was born, he had to be readmitted to the hospital because he was suffering from apnea. And apnea is which the cessation of the individual of the breathing, so he could not breathe. So that breathing also affected his brain, since the brain needs oxygen and things like that. So just jumping a little bit ahead to his preschool years, he was known to be very active as a child. And during this time, he was also diagnosed with early communication problems. At this age, he ended up creating his own language. He developed his own language, and no one else could speak it or understand it except for his mom. And he would speak this language a lot. And his mom knew exactly what he was saying, what he was trying to do. So when he went to a lot of these evaluators, they needed the mom to be there because he only spoke that language at the time. And they had no idea what he was talking about, but the mom did. So she would go there and she would translate for the evaluators. And he had to take a test, and this test is called the birth to 3 evaluation, which it helps to see if the child, the infant, is growing and supposed to be at a certain level where they're supposed to be at their age. And so after having these tests, sorry, I got a call, so I just end it right there. After having these tests, they had to inform them that the results were lower and that they were below average of where he should have been when it comes to the social expectations and personal development. He had a lot of personal social issues with the development because of, example, his communication. And he also suffered from another disorder, such as the other disorder he suffered from was a sensory processing disorder. He could not organize or subjugate his sensory perceptions. He also had a very difficult time sleeping at night, and he could not sleep through the night. He had a tendency to change his socks 20 times a day, forcing his mom to do laundry 20 times a day. He had a very particular way of doing things. For example, he only ate if things were prepared a certain way. He didn't like to touch things with his bare hands, so he would use tissues to open doors, like touch doorknobs and surfaces and things like that, because he just refused to touch things with his bare hands. And fast forward a bit, he was later diagnosed with Asperger's, and when after seeing all these evaluations and this all these results that they were getting back concerning his well-being, his mother became very concerned and wanted to make sure she was there for him all the time and be there for him. In the fifth grade, he had to do a book report, and he ended up doing a book report on a book called The Big Book of Granny. And this book is about taxidermy, the murder of children, and cannibalism. And so he's in the fifth grade at the age of 11, and he's talking about cannibalism and murder. And even earlier, before that, he had an interest in rituals as well. And when he got to the age of 14, he was reevaluated once again at the Yale Center for the Child. And these evaluators saw that Adam had needed a very extensive education services, and he needed more counseling and needed more therapy sessions to help him. A lot of these evaluators encouraged Nancy's mother to push Adam to be surrounded with other people, or else he would be living a very deteriorating lifestyle. After all these suggestions, the mother did not abide to him. She heard it, but she felt that what she thought and what she knew, she felt that she could fulfill the needs and the requirements to take care of Adam, regardless of what people were saying. And so even when he was in school, she tried to take him out and try to uh, homeschool him. But psychiatrists and the teachers at the school said no, like he should be kept in those special needs classes, but she felt that wasn't the best for him. And the being around people, even though they said he should be around people, didn't help him at all. She felt that keeping him at home would make him feel more safe. And it came to the point where as he was going to school and they would give him material to read, if she would read the books and if she felt that she didn't like what the books had to offer, wasn't good enough for him, she would find her own books and give it to Adam to read. And so she would constantly be monitoring him and his education. And going back to different things that he had like I said, he had tendencies of the way he liked to do things and the way he sees things, and he's very easily bothered. And so an example of something that bothers him is the sound of cooking. So because this would annoy him and bother him, his mom would try her best not to cook around him or just cook at all, because she didn't want to make him feel unsafe, because she wanted her whole goal was to quote unquote keep him safe. And so she would do different things like that. And because of this lack of cooking that she would do, he ended up suffering from malnutrition. At his teenage years, he was 5'8" and weighed at 98 pounds. So that also, the lack of nourishment also affected his physical well-being, his physical development. In 2009, Adam eventually did graduate high school. But once he graduated high school, so we took more of a darker turn, in the sense that he became more secluded. He locked himself in his room, covered his windows with garbage bags, and he would stay in his room and would not make any contact with people except his mother. He would even go to her in person. He would email her and just communicate with her if he wanted something, he needed something. And if he ever left his room, he would go to the mall and play Call of Duty for hours. And he would also play Just Dance for 10 hours straight, just to try to be distracted and get away from things. And then he eventually got into the military, and he wanted to become a Marine. Then he wanted to become or go to community college, but his father discouraged it, and he said, "No, that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do it." And he became very upset with his father. And that was beforehand he had stopped talking to him. And he ended up applying to a community college, and he wrote a 34-page research paper on why he believed that pedophilia should be permitted. He even wrote a screenplay about a pedophilic relationship between a 10-year-old boy and a 30-year-old man. And so these different things start to show that Adam was a very interesting kid that had very different tastes in things and had a kind of a darker turn and thought about different things. And he even went on to different radio stations and listened to anarchy stations and talk about racism and things like that, and just like race and things like that. And so after going through these things and how it talked about the description of a shooter is a white male between the ages of 13 to 21 and exposed to guns. Adam was at 21 years of age. He was exposed to guns. He was from a rural area in America. And so he fit those criteria that were set that describe who normally a shooter is. And so because of this, after seeing different things about who Adam is and who he was, the theories that I chose that best to help us understand him and the sense of why he did what he did and understand the development, like, because the only way we understand someone's development and where they got where they were is if you go backwards to connect the dots, going to the root cause, the upbringing, to see where it all started and what happened that got the person to where they are today, what got them to do what they did today. So the best theories that I chose that fit Adam Lanza was the prenatal issues. So prenatal issues are the problems that take place before or during the pregnancy, and just how the mom suffered from, they said that she had a difficult pregnancy, and even after the pregnancy, because of those issues, it affected him, his physical well-being, his mental development, and they ended up affecting him even afterwards when he was born, how he had to be readmitted into the hospital because of apnea. And another theory that I felt was good was the attachment and mother theory. So with this theory, I felt that the mother was very, very attached because she loved and cared and wanted what's best for him. And he felt that he needed to, or she needed to make sure he was safe in her own way. And she was very, very attached to him. Like, even when he went to a birthday party one time, she was there just staring at him, just to be there because she wanted to make sure he was safe and that he was in an environment with people she doesn't really know and she didn't trust. And that he or she changed the books that he would read. She would just make sure that everything that he did was for his own safety. And that he went, when he was younger, he went hiking with his, or not hiking, camping with his father. And he talked about how he tied his shoes without his mom being around. And she was surprised because he could never be able to tie his shoes without the mom being there. And that just their relationship, they're very close to one another. Of course, as he got older and after he graduated, he just started doing his own thing and just like secluding himself and doing different things like that. But she made sure that she was always there, make sure that she was always with him, to make sure that he was safe in her own terms and what she felt was safe for him, because she believed that she knew better than anyone else, any evaluator, any expert, any test, that she knew her son best and that she was capable enough to take care of him. So after going back and looking at his upbringing, his mom, his dad, and his interests, just show how he got to where he did, that he was a very troubled and had quite a few mental issues and just had a very troubling, I wouldn't say troubling, but it was filled with a lot of complications growing up. And that Adam Lanza was a very unique case because of all the different mental issues that he has, all the evaluations he had all throughout his life. So just with this breakdown and with these theories and these facts about who Adam Lanza is and the relationships he had between his father, his mother, the lack of relationships that he had outside his home, shows how Adam got to where he was because of all the lack of love, the mental illnesses, the evaluations, his mom, his father, and just everything just comes together to try to create this picture on who Adam Lanza was and how he got to where he got and why he did what he did. And even there was a theory that because of the lack of love, the relationship that he had from his father, they felt that there's a theory that, or a hypothesis, that he made sure that when he killed these children, he made sure that there would be fathers that would mourn and be sad they lost their kid, and that they won't be able to love on their kid because they're gone, and he took them away, and that he never had that love and affection from his father. And even though Peter Lanza was known to be a good father, but that interview when he says about his own son just shows that he didn't really love his son, and Adam just wanted love, but at the same time he didn't really understand love, relationships, and things like that, because all he knew is what his mom showed him. All he was into was his books about cannibalism and pedophilia and things like that. So Adam was a troubled kid, and just all these things just help us understand and paint this picture of who Adam Lanza is.